So welcome in, everybody. My name is Coach Anderson. Again, this is technically where I'm going to start recording this. So my name is Coach Anderson. Welcome to our session on proportions today. So if you missed this screenshot earlier, this is for you. We have three main things that we're going to be going over today, guys. Three main things. Number one, we're going to be learning how to set up proportions when it comes to word problems. Very tough thing to do. I got to make sure you know how to do it. Number two, we're going to learn the different types of proportion word problems. And earlier I did a quick little survey. It looked like a lot of us actually didn't know that there are two different or more than two different types, but these are the two main types of proportion questions. And that's going to be part to part and part to total proportions. So if you're here right now live, write those two things down. Very important, because once you understand what you're looking for and how proportions work, this is actually going to be one of the easiest things you've ever done, but you have to be willing to pay attention to the details. It's a very small detail, very easy to miss, very easy to see and very ezy to miss. I tried to say both of those words at the same time, but it's very easy to see, but it's also very easy to miss. Pay attention, and this will be easy for you. And then lastly, how to solve proportions. You know we got to do it. We're going to be learning how this works, and I'm also going to show you a pretty cool different perspective on this. And what I mean by that is this. Everybody, give me a yes or no. If I say that the main way that you've been taught how to solve proportions in school is cross, multiply, and divide. Does that sound familiar to you? Wow, that's every single person here saying yes so far. And there we go, right? We've all been taught that way. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite you to think about solving proportions in a slightly different way. We're still going to learn the cross, multiply, and divide method because it is the standard general way. But there are many situations where you can save time if you're paying attention to the types of numbers that you're given. We'll talk about that in a few moments. We just have to go through some main notes first, but keep that idea in mind. We can solve faster, we can analyze faster, and we can overall get a solution faster. Exactly, Savannah. I've seen one of my videos before on this, so I'm really excited for you there. So with that said, my part of let's look at some main notes real quick. And these are them right here. The first thing I want to have you write down is the most important note that you'll have all day. Right here. Compare the same things in the same way. Highlighted right there in red. That's the main idea for proportions, okay? This is the main idea. I need you to know this. Compare the same things in the same way. I'm going to teach you what this means through a ton of different examples. Once you have this locked down, I'm telling you right now, setting up proportions, easy. And once we go through a couple of exercises in solving proportions, we're going to show you how you can get faster at that as well. Because once you combine those two into a word problem, that's success. So again, compare the same things in the same way. If you are, not a very avid note taker, if you don't take notes that often, then what I need you to do is go ahead and just draw arrows from the sides of your screen on that right there. Like seriously, this is the main idea. Everything that we're going to do moving forward is based off of that phrase, that sentence right there. Compare the same things in the same way. For those of you, the red highlight right here, this. So for those of you that have been to my classes before, and we talk about those main ideas before we start doing problems, is it true that I always refer to that main idea no matter what topic it is? Appreciate it, Kai. Yeah, it's also based on ratios for sure, yeah. But yeah, and what I'm saying is, again, every single class that we do, whether it's rate word problems, proportion word problems, percents, solving equations, doesn't matter. There's a main idea for every single topic. If you learn the main idea first, everything else becomes so much easier because the reasoning for every decision is rooted in the idea. So right there, compare the same things in the same way. Lock that in, and let's talk next. So next, what the heck is a proportion? I think that's a very fair question to ask. So let's go ahead and understand this just a little better. So right over here, what are proportions? Well, basically, a proportion is essentially, hey, two fractions that are the same. A proportion is essentially an equation, but with fractions. That's literally it. So two fractions that are the same. So here's what I mean by that very, very quickly, everybody. So very quickly, I'm going to go off to the side, stop taking notes for a brief moment. Just want to lock you into what I'm saying. Everybody, is it true that 1 over 2, so 1 over 2, right? Is it true that 1 is half of 2? Honest question. Is it true that 1 is half of 2? Right? Straightforward question, straightforward answer. That's a yes. 1 is half of 2. Now, everybody, is it true that, let's say, 5 is half of 10? Is that true as well? Right? Nothing crazy. I'm not speaking anything that the devil will say. So with that, when I say that 1/2 is equal to 5 over 10, that's a proportion. That's it. Two fractions that are the same. 1 is half of 2. If you put that into a calculator, you'll get 0.5. 5 over 10, you put that into a calculator, you get 0.5. Two fractions that are the same, that's a proportion. Everybody, yes or no, is that true? Are we good there? Jose, my man, congrats. Let's go. I just saw that. Hey, coach, just want to thank you for all the help. The math boot camp is the best. I passed the second test with the score I needed. Let's go. It's a good Monday. Jose, I've been pulling for you for a minute, man. This is good. Jose, you know what to do, man. Text me. Jose, if you don't already have an Ace the ASVAB shirt, because I've been working with you so closely for so long, I'm going to give you a free one. So if you don't already have one. So if you don't have one, either way, text me. But I want to go ahead and make sure that you get something out of this, man, because you've worked very hard for this. I'm proud of you, man. Absolutely proud of you. But before I lose my train of thought, because I love my students, man. But before I lose my train of thought, let's get back into this. So before I continue, yes, everybody, proportions are basically two fractions that are the same. Are we good on that before we continue? Yeah, we're going over arithmetic reasoning today. Yep, and that is math. So cool. Now, here's the thing. What you have to understand about proportions is that they are the same parts of the same wholes, okay? It's the same parts of the same wholes. Another way to put that, like I say in red, compare the same things in the same way. We're going to talk about that a lot today. Make sure to keep honing back to that. Now, let's take a look at an example here very briefly, right here. So let's read together here. Let's have a good time. There are 6 boys for every 10 girls in class. If there are 35 girls in class, then there are 21 boys. Now, the only reason I put this example up is because I want to give you an example of setting up a proportion to show you the right way and the wrong way to do it. I got to make sure we understand this because, again, this is going to translate directly into those word problems that we're going to tackle pretty much all class long. So if I look at this and I say, hey, I got 6 boys for every 10 girls in class, I could say we have 6 over 10. 6 boys for every 10 girls. Now, if I keep reading and I want to set up the proportion, again, show the other fraction, the other comparison, okay, 35 girls in class, 21 boys. So for that, I'll go ahead and write 35 over 21. Everyone, quick question. Is that appropriate? Is that correct? Yes or no? And take a guess. Take your guess. Give me a yes or no. Don't even think about it. Just, take a quick second to think about it, but don't hesitate. Give me a yes or a no. Is that correct? Okay, so I'm getting some yeses, a lot of no's. Okay, so let's understand why this is actually incorrect. Before I begin, I need everybody to go ahead in the chat box, type it out. Compare the same things in the same way. Type that out for me, please, and thank you. Compare the same things in the same way. Ken, retype that, put an S on things. Compare the same things in the same way. Compare the same things in the same way. I'm loving the participation today. Absolutely loving it. So let me ask this question, everybody. When I say compare the same things in the same way, what are the things that we're talking about in this problem? What are the things that we're talking about in this problem? Right, we're comparing boys and girls here. We're comparing boys and girls. So we see that in the first sentence, they talk about, hey, look, we're talking about the ratio of boys to girls in class. And then in the second sentence, we're talking about the actual number of boys and girls. And look at this. When I set up the fraction, just observe. Put your pencil down. If you don't like proportions really quick, put your pencil down. This is exactly what I'm talking about when I say compare the same things in the same way. Take a look. When I looked at the 6, when I wrote down the 6 and I wrote down the 10, let's just take a look at the word problem right here, right above me, right behind me. That's 6, everybody. What does that 6 represent, everybody? What does that 6 represent? Boys, right? Right. So I'm going to say that right there. That's boys. Okay, now everybody help me out here. This 10 over here at the bottom of the fraction, what does that 10 represent? Where did I get that 10 from? What does that represent? Girls, right? Okay, cool. So let me go ahead and just use blue here. Okay, sounds good. So notice that this fraction represents the first sentence. So top and bottom, they're both from the first sentence. They're from that first comparison, and that's together. But notice how it goes: boys over girls, boys being compared to girls. Let's take a look at the second sentence and see why that's wrong in terms of that second fraction. Everyone, that 35, what does that represent? Girls. Okay, so sounds good. We can write that down there. And then everybody help me out. The 21 then. We see the 21 represents what? That's right, boys. Right there. So what's the problem with that? Well, the problem is, again, you're not comparing the same things in the same way. You're not. Because look, on the left side, it's boys compared to girls. And on the right side, it's girls compared to boys. Yes. Are we comparing the same things, everybody? Yes. We are comparing boys and girls. We absolutely are. That's correct. But are we doing it in the same way? We're not. I hope you're starting to see the difference now, right? I hope you're starting to see why this is, this is starting to make sense, hopefully. Because again, yes, in this proportion, we're comparing boys to girls and boys and girls on the right side, but it's not happening in the same way. In one side, we're starting with boys to compare to girls, and on the other side, we're starting with girls to compare to boys. That is not the same thing, not the same way, and that wouldn't work. That would not work. For example, just to show you why that wouldn't work, I'm not going to use these numbers. I'm going to use our example from earlier, everybody. When you compare, and just really, really take a second to think about this. When I compare 1 to 2, hey, if I multiply by 2, I can get there. If I compare 5 to 10, that's times 2 as well. It's the same comparison in the same way. If I go from this to that on either side, it's the same comparison. But let's go ahead and say we wrote this the wrong way. Pretend that we did it wrong for once. 1 over 2. And let's say we screwed this up, the 5 and the 10. Let's say we put 10 over 5. That would be wrong, everybody, because think about it. 1 divided by 2, that's 0.5. But 10 divided by 5 is 2. Those are not the same. Not the same at all. And that wouldn't work as a proportion. Look, same numbers, but now they're not being compared the same way. And because of that, this would be wrong. Everybody, yes or no? Is this starting to make a little more sense in terms of why it's important to compare the same things in the same way? That's really all I care about. The main idea here, compare the same things in the same way. That's really what we're trying to do. Excellent. Sounds good. Sounds good, man. All right, so with that, my party people, here is what we're going to just recap real quick before continuing, because we're about to look at solving proportions, then we're hopping straight into word problems for the rest of class. But I need to make sure we got these main ideas set all the way. So again, if you're coming in right now, I know a couple of people just rolled in, compare the same things in the same way, that red highlight up top right there, all the way up there, make sure you got that down, okay? And as a reminder, all a proportion are just two fractions that mean the same thing. Two fractions that represent the same comparison. That's it. And so when it comes to word problems, You need to make sure that whatever you're doing in terms of the proportion, that the comparison is in the same way. That's what you got to make sure you do. The same parts of the same wholes. Because remember, fractions are parts of wholes. Same parts of the same wholes. Compare the same things in the same way. Whatever you do on one, you do to the other. Pretty much all means the same thing. So with that, who's interested in learning how to actually solve proportions other than just cross, multiply, and divide? Oh, absolutely, Savannah. We're absolutely going to do that. Absolutely. I'm excited for this too. So with that, all right, cool. Sounds great. Let's get it. So here, let's go ahead and take a look now into the three main ways that really you can solve proportions. So obviously my big old head's right behind this one or in front of this one, but let's start with the first one, cross multiplication and division. We've learned that before, and I'm going to review it for you here today. Number two, up, down, and left, right. So basically vertical and horizontal simplifying. For example, has anybody here ever done a problem when it comes to fractions, adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing, it doesn't matter, but you realized that even after you got the problem done, after you got done multiplying or dividing or whatever, that you had to do a ton of simplifying that was really annoying? Who's been there before? Right? If you're working on fractions in the math boot camp, happens all the time, right? If you're looking at a practice test, happens all the time. On the ASVAB, happens all the time. And my main tip, my main suggestion when it comes to dealing with fractions, especially in word problems, is simplify wherever you can. Before you start doing the math, simplify where you can. And I'm going to show you how you can simplify vertically or horizontally when it comes to proportions as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it here. We're going to solve the following proportion here. We're going to have 4 over 8 equals x over 32. Let's go ahead and go over it the original way. Let's go ahead and do cross multiplication and division. And before I do that, let me just kind of copy this over here. And allow me to 1 second here. Let's go ahead and convert this into math talk. Hopefully you can read. Thank you, sir. And we're good. So let's go ahead and go right over here. Let's take a look at this. Cross multiplication and division. We've at least done this once in our lifetimes. Allow me to refresh you if you haven't done this in a while. So let's say right here, we're going to cross multiply the 4 and the 32, and we're also going to cross the 8 and the x. Let's do the easier one first. Everyone, 8 times x is what again? Tried to trick you. Yeah, it's just 8x, right? If you have a number times a variable and you don't know what the variable is, it's just the multiplication, 8x. So that's what's going to be it right there. Now, who's excited about doing 4 times 32? Who's excited about that? Some people are excited about 68. Not quite it. Not quite it. 128, that seems a little more accurate, right? And so that's the thing. Notice, yes, a lot of us were able to say 128, but a good bit of us were like, wait, all right, think about this. 68, 64, what is that? What is that? And those are the moments you want to avoid when you can avoid them. And I'm going to show you how in a moment. But right now, we have 4 times 32. If you need help on that, no worries. We can do that right over here. 32 times 4. 3 times 4, 2 times 4, that's going to be 8. And then 3 times 4, that'll be 12. Not too crazy, still very manageable. And we have 128. But here's the problem now. When we're solving this equation, everybody, we can, Tyree, and I'm going to show you in a moment. But now that we're looking at it from this end, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, well, I got to solve this now. And that's where the division comes in. We cross multiply, and now we're going to divide. So we're going to divide both sides by that 8. Absolutely. And right here, we see that, well, 8 divided by 8, that's going to cancel out. So that's a saving grace, right? That's going to happen. But then we have 128 divided by 8. And now a lot of us might be sitting here thinking, well, dang, coach, now I got to do some long division. I don't want to do that. I'd rather go to the grocery store, get some scratch offs, and hope for the best, right? If that's fair to say. So with that, let me go ahead and do the long division now. Let's go ahead and grab that here. 8 going into 128. Man, I don't want to do this, right? Okay, here we go. 8 into 12. That's going to happen one time. Subtract the 8. I get a 4. Drop that 8. 8 goes into 48 how many times? Right, that's going to be 6. Okay, so it's going to be 16. So that means the answer is going to be x equals 16. Everybody, is that correct? Is x going to equal 16? Great, right? Feels great. We're feeling good. Right on. But what if I told you that on the ASVAB, you can't take your time? What if I told you on the ASVAB, you need to get these problems done as accurately, but as quickly as possible? And that's why it's important for us to take a pause and show these other methods wherever we can. Exactly. The division can definitely get us, Ferris, right? Krista, forgetting a 1, right? That can happen. So watch this. Let's give ourselves more of an opportunity to succeed. Let me make this one right there. Let's duplicate it again over here. And let's give ourselves a better opportunity. So I'm gonna ask this one more time, everybody. And you can't use a calculator either, right? So I'm gonna ask this here, and I want you to answer in the chat box. What is the main idea for proportions? Give me the whole sentence in the chat box. I'll wait. I will wait. Give me that whole thing right there in the chat box. Compare the same things in the same way. That's right. Especially if you're on YouTube as well, make that comment in there. Compare the same things in the same way. That is correct. So with that said, let's go ahead and play off of this. And let's look at the horizontal method, left to right. I'm going to show you some pretty cool stuff here. I'm going to show you some pretty cool stuff. And remember this. Remember this. Multiplication and division. That's how you compare with proportions. I got to make sure I say that real quick, because I don't want to confuse anybody. Multiplication and division, they're the same operation, but that's how you compare, through multiplication and division. Now watch this, everyone. Quick question. If I wanted to compare, and actually I'm going to do the vertical first because this is what we did earlier. Let me just ask you this, everybody. If I wanted to go from 32 to x, remember, if we're comparing the same things in the same way, again, the same thing I've been saying all day, if I'm comparing the same things in the same way, the way that I'm going to get from 32 to the answer is going to be the same way, the same exact way that I got from 8 to 4. The same exact way. And everybody, let me ask you this question. How do you go from 8 to 4? With multiplication or division, give me a number as well. Give me the operation and the number. How do you go from 8 to 4? Not from 48, 8 to 4. I know a lot of us are getting it right, but some of us didn't quite hear me yet. Divide by 2. So just help yourself out here. I'm going to say, hey, I got to divide by 2. And again, you have to do it in the same way. In this way, from the bottom to the top, because you're trying to go from 32 to the answer, bottom to top. So when we look at the other side, bottom to top, that comparison is divide by 2. So since I got to divide by 2 to go from bottom to top on the left side, I'll divide by 2 on the right side to go from the bottom to top. Everybody, quick question. What's 32 divided by 2? Cut it in half. What do you get? What's 32 divided by 2? 16. 16. That can't be that easy, can it? Wow. Look at that. And so in this situation, this particular situation, the numbers were convenient enough and it allowed you to get this done. The numbers were convenient enough and boom, you were able to get that done pretty relatively quickly. There are plenty of problems on the real test and on practice tests that you can do that with. Plenty of times I've seen it. Now, obviously, there are other times that, hey, maybe you still just have to go straight up, cross, multiply, and divide, and that's okay. You're supposed to know the basic way, but you need to know shortcuts and know when you can use them. Yes or no? Does that make sense? Seth, that's right. Yeah, Seth, we just did the cross multiplication and division right over there. That's exactly what you're talking about, and that's what we did. So that's another way. Again, you can go vertically. Just compare it in the same way. Now, here's another thing, everybody. So exactly, Savannah. If they're not divisible by anything at all, then just cross multiply and divide. It'll work. It'll work. Now, lastly over here, I'm going to show you horizontally. This also works, everyone. Here's another way to look at it. If I want to go, let's say, from left to right, from 4 to the answer, I want to know, hey, is there a way for me to go from 4 straight to the answer? Well, you look at the bottom now. Can I see a comparison from left to right? Because if I can find a comparison from left to right down here, then I can apply that same comparison up there. So everybody, is there a way for me to go from 8 to 32? Be specific. Be specific. Yeah. Multiply by 4. And so in that case right here, times 4. Yes, 8 times 4 left to right is 32. I'm going to do the same comparison up there. What is 4 times 4, everyone? Oh, wow. Look at that. And we gave ourselves an opportunity to get that done without even having to lay our pencil on paper. Plenty of opportunities on the ASVAB to take advantage of that. And I want to really make sure that you're informed every step of the way. So with that said, let me zoom out a little bit. Was that worth it? Was that worth it for you? Hey, you're welcome, Ogie. Cool. And we're not done. We're not done. We got plenty to do here. We got plenty to work on. This was just the first part and just showing you the different ways that you can solve proportions. That's all that was. That's all that was. You can also simplify the fractions as well. That can also give you an easier time too. So just a brief example of what that looks like with this exact question. Let me just grab this and duplicate it. So what I mean is, let me just grab you here. All right, great. And so what we can do if we wanted to, let's get that out of the way, get that out of the way. You could simplify the fraction first if you wanted to. So what I mean by that is, well, hey, you can divide the top and the bottom here by 4 if you wanted to, and that'll get you 1 over 2 equals x over 32. You could do it that way if you wanted to, because that would simplify it. You're dealing with smaller numbers. That could work out just fine. Just fine. So that's really just another way to think about it. But overall, again, just look out for convenient situations and make it happen. So what I'm going to do for Krista, I'm going to go back. I'm going to let anybody here take a screenshot of this page and a screenshot of the last page, just in case you were coming in late. No worries. And then we're going to start rolling into the word problems. Who is excited? Who's nervous? Who is scared? Or who is a lot of feelings about word problems? All the things. On Mac, I think if you hit Command Shift 5, that should be, or Command Shift 6, that should be a full screenshot. If you do Command Shift 4, you can just select the area and screenshot. Ready to face the fury. Nervously excited. Like that meme, like, haha, I'm in danger from The Simpsons. All right, so here, or not this one, this right here. Take your screenshot of that, and we are good. I'll give this about 15, 20 seconds. Math always makes me nervous. Well, Stephanie, if I can just guess, is it fair to say that you don't really like math too much? Is it also fair to say that you may not understand math too much? In your perspective? Right. It's pretty easy for us to say that, we hate things that we don't know, or it's easy to say, or it's easy to feel nervous around things that you're not familiar with. That's just life. It could be people, could be places, could be ideas, could be tasks, could be jobs. If you're not confident, you get nervous. They're the antithesis of each other. And so that's why we need to make sure we're working to build confidence the right way instead of memorizing problems and hoping for the best. If we learn the right way, we start exchanging that nervousness with confidence. That's really, truly how learning works. In case anybody here didn't know, I have a master's degree in teaching. Kind of been doing this for a while. I've written some papers and stuff, but that's truly how learning works in terms of confidence building. Replace that nervousness with curiosity, which will eventually turn to confidence. So with that, let's go ahead and get started here, my party people. Let's get started on this first type of word problem here. simply identifying the ratio. I'm going to zoom in because obviously this is not as big as I would like it to be. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. And again, this is a guided warm-up in a word problem of identifying the ratio. So remember that the order matters, everybody. The order matters. If they say, hey, give me the ratio of cats to dogs, you're going to write a fraction with cats first and dogs second. The order matters. So let's go through this here. The first thing we need to do is always what, everybody? When it comes to word problems, what's step one? Oh, yeah. Some of y'all are writing it twice. Read the question. So let's go ahead and read that question first. And I'm not saying the whole problem. I'm saying the question sentence. Excuse me there. Right here. What is the ratio of red to green marbles? That is the first thing you always want to do when it comes to any word problem. Not read the whole problem. Just read the question sentence. You want to know what the goal is. If you don't know what the goal is, then how do you know you're doing anything right? Start with the question. Don't waste time on anything else. So here, what is the, oh, look at that, a math word, ratio. And then they tell you exactly what to look for. Red to green marbles. So everybody, quick question. What's another word for ratio? It's not proportions. What's another word for ratio? Fraction. Exactly. If you didn't know that, write this down. Ratios and fractions are literally the same exact thing. There are different ways to write them. In terms of actually having a fraction, using colons or using words, but they are literally the same thing. So ratio means fraction. And in this problem, they're asking you to compare red to green. So that means we need red up top and green on the bottom. Not the other way around. Again, the order matters. If you would have put green marbles up top and red on bottom, you're done. Go home. No, not going to work. Not going to work. So again, ratios and fractions are the same thing. And all this problem is asking you to do is write a fraction that's comparing red to green marbles. Now we can look at the actual information because now we know what we're looking for and we can stay calm, cool, and collected throughout the entire process. So here we go. In a bag, there are 12 red marbles and 20 green marbles. Let's go ahead and write a ratio of red to green. So everybody, how many red marbles did they say there were? Right? They say 12, right? We see that right there. 12 red marbles. And let me just go ahead and erase this big old circle there. And for anybody who has OCD, let me just do you a favor right there. 12 red marbles. And how many green marbles? Were we given that? Yeah, we were given that. It says 20 right there. 20 green. And so what I'll do here is 20 green. Okay. And so that's it. That's it. We actually had all the information we needed, actually had it. And so we have 12 red over 20 green. I'm good. That's the answer. But why the heck is that not one of the answer choices? Right. We need to simplify. That's right. We have got to simplify the fraction. Simplify the fraction. We have got to simplify the fraction. And so remember, everybody, all simplifying a fraction is, all it truly is you are dividing the same number from the top and the bottom, or the numerator and denominator, whatever you want to say, but you're finding a number that you can divide out of the top and the bottom, preferably the biggest number so you can get as much work done ASAP. So what I'm saying is, if you look at 12 over 20, you can divide them both by 2. For sure, you absolutely can. But that's not the biggest number. You're going to have more work to do if you keep doing small numbers. What's the biggest number that can go into 12 and 20? Jessica, that's what's up. 4, exactly. There we go. And so what we'll do here is we'll say, hey, I can divide the top by 4 and the bottom by 4. That's what simplifying looks like. And so 12 divided by 4 is 3. And 20 divided by 4 is 5. And that would be our correct answer. That would be it right there. And that's why A, not B, A is the correct answer, 3 to 5, not 5 to 3, 3 to 5, because they literally said red to green. So that 3 represents red, the 5 represents green. It's a ratio of 3 to 5. Just like we said earlier, right? 1 over 2, 5 over 10, they're the same thing. They truly are. Gotcha. Okay. Oh, and so again, Savannah, you could do 2. So let me explain. So because I know, yeah, Brian, you can do the 2 for sure. Thanks for explaining that. But let me go over why I wouldn't recommend using numbers that are smaller than what you can use. Let me explain that for you. So if we have, again, originally that 12 over 20, watch this, Samantha. I got you. If you decided to divide by 2, here's the dilemma that you would have. I will go ahead and divide the top and the bottom by 2, which you can perfectly do. And everybody help me out. What would that turn into? 12 over 20. When you divide the 12 by 2 and the 20 by 2, what do you get now? Right, we would get 6 out of 10. We would get 6 out of 10. But everybody, when you look at that, we did it correctly. But is that answer there? No. And the reason is because we can actually continue simplifying. 6 and 10 are still divisible by the same number. And that's going to be a 2 again. And so when we do that, right, we are taking a little more time, Brian. That's right. We're taking a little more time, and we don't really need to take more time. And so, boom, that'll turn into 3 over 5, the exact same answer that we had earlier. And so, let me know, Savannah, if that makes sense. Booyah. Gotcha. So, there we go. And so, that's why 3 over 5 is the answer. Because, again, 6 over 10, not there, but it means the same thing. But on the test, remember this. Any fraction final answers, 99.999% of the time, every single fractional answer is going to be in simplified form. You need to simplify it. Because otherwise, you could have any fraction and be like, yeah, I'm right, but the answer wasn't there. No, they're going to have to make it fair. And the way that they make it fair is by just making it the simplest form every time. Right. Always starting with the smaller numbers, it takes a little more time. If you know if you have an understanding of your multiplication tables and your rules of division, you do have the advantage. You do have the advantage of taking less time. Depends on the section, Moses. You can check my study guides on the website to see the exact timing for every subject. I got you. So with that, I want to give you guys a turn to try this out, okay? And also, if you're working with us on YouTube, remember that there's a description for this video. And when you look at the description, you can click the Zoom link and you can join us live. There might be a 20-second delay via YouTube and Zoom. So if you just click that link right now, you would be able to join us while we're getting timed. So you can actually just zoom on in once I'm done with this next question. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and start my timer here. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to try this next problem out. And let me go ahead and bring up the timer here in my little program. Right there. All right, there we go, my party people. So I'm going to give you a chance to try this next one out. Go. 2 minutes. Don't reveal the answer. Don't reveal the answer. Simply type ready when you're ready, okay? Just type ready when you're ready. We'll be right back. I'm just going to get a glass of water before my voice dies. And we're looking at our final 2 seconds and time. Go ahead, gang. Reveal those answers if you have one. If you got lost or stuck, go ahead. Say it. I was lost. I got stuck. Because remember, the point of this is not to stroke our egos, but instead to be realistic about where we are. Because if you're feeling lost and you can't even identify what you're lost with, or you're lying to yourself about that, then it does become a lot harder to actually get into it and have a good time. So just be honest. All right, no worries. So for those of us that are lost, and only for those of us that are completely lost, if you are not sure that you got this right, I only want to ask you this. What was the main idea for proportions? Say it in the chat box, please. What was the main idea of proportions? Yeah, right. Compare the same things in the same way. Compare the same things in the same way. Compare the same things in the same way. Just had to do a quick little pulse check on that. And number two, remember that you got to pay attention to the words. So watch this. Watch this. Read the question first. That's going to be step one. Let's go and do that together. I'm going to show you that if this problem was confusing to you, it actually shouldn't be that confusing. I got you. Because look, it says, what is the ratio? Quick question, everybody. What's another word for ratio? What's another word for, correct, fraction? Fraction. Let's go and write that down. Nice and pretty, like, even though my handwriting is garbage. But okay, fraction. Then here it says the ratio or fraction of male members to all members. Okay. So it looks like we need a fraction that compares, again, like we said, the male members to all members. So if I am taking a guess with my X amount of years of teaching experience, again, I've been teaching for a while, but if I had to take a guess, if I was not a confident teacher, I might say that someone who is not confident in themselves right now might have done this. I am willing to bet that if you're confused on this problem, you might have initially thought, oh, hey, the local YMCA has 44 male members. Okay, 44 sounds good. I'm going to grab that 44 right there. That's 44. So I'm going to do 44. And then over here on the right side, I see that I had, 56 female members. And I'm going to grab that instantly. Okay, cool, 56 female members. So I'm going to take that 56 right there. And I did 44 over 56. And I think that that's correct. Who went like that right there and said, okay, cool, that's cool. And now I'm checking to see if my answer's there. But apparently it's not. And that's where I'm sitting here like, wah, I'm confused. This sucks. I'm frustrated. Is that fair to say? Okay. So with that said, that's not how you do this. Everyone, what is the problem with me writing 44 over 56? For those of you that are a little more confident, help us out. Come on, let's really have this talk. Why is this not correct? Kat, thank you. That was the clearest one. They didn't ask us to compare males to females. This is where paying attention. Again, like I said, if you just pay attention to the details, it does become a little easier. And this is how. First, in the question, notice that the question said, what is the ratio of male members to all members? And we wrote that down. When we went through the information, this is the grave mistake that I made right here. It says male 44, local YMCA, 44 males. That's good. 44 males right there, 44 up top. Great. But then it says 56 female members. I said I needed to compare it to all members. Notice how those are not the same thing. I cannot just take any number I see and throw it in there and just hope for the best. That is not how math works. Math is a very logical process. And if you can think about it logically, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, then you can guarantee that you're correct. But in this case, this would not be correct because 56 represents females. So I can write that on the side if I want to. But that would not fit under all members. And so this is where a little bit of intuition comes in. And what I really mean by intuition is, I don't mean to say this in a posturing way or to offend anybody, but this is where common sense comes in. And I'm not saying common sense like, no. Like common sense says, let's take what the problem is giving you and just read it how it is. If you're looking for all members and you have males and females, what can you safely assume that all means? Right. The sum, the total of the number of males and females together. That would, in this case, in this problem, in this very oversimplified problem, that's what that'll be. And so with that, cool. If we want to get all members, for me, that would say, hey, 44 males, and we add that with the 56 females, that would give us all members. And everybody, what's 44 plus 56? Right, that's going to be 100. 56 plus 44, if you add them together, 6 plus 4 is 10. 5 plus 4 is 9, plus 1 is 10. So that would be 100 for all. And that's how you can write 100 there. Does that make a little more sense, everyone? Again, like notice, word problems are not just about knowing how to solve things. It's about knowing how to also set it up. And that's why I said earlier, knowing those two things together, the setup and all the shortcuts you can take in solving, that's really what's ultimately going to spell success for you at the end of the day. So with that, Kat, yes, this Zoom is being recorded for those students in the All Access program. I'll talk more about that in a few moments, okay? So with that, 44 over 100, there it is. And so with that said, what's the last step that we have to take, everybody? Kira, you said it. That's right. Simplify. Divide that out. And so booyah. Hey, no worries if you didn't see it before. Hopefully you saw it now, right? So everybody, what's the biggest number that 44 and 100 can be divided by? Yes, Savannah. So this is where we have to look at this and simplify. And if you don't know how to simplify quite yet or not comfortable with it, you're in the program already. So make sure that you're going into the math bootcamp, going into fractions, and there's a whole activity list for simplifying fractions. And so here, 44 and 100 are both divisible by 4. And again, if you're in the program, by the way, just a quick PSA, if you're in the program and you're stuck on learning certain things, hit me up, like shoot me a text. You guys know that I'm going to be here. I got your back all day. So just shoot me a text and I'll give you the advice that you need. Okay. So with that, 44 divided by 4, that's going to give us 11. And then that's behind my big old head. So let me actually draw an arrow up, but that'll be 11 over 25 because 44 divided by 4 is 11 and 100 divided by 4 is 25. And that is as low as you can get it. And that will be answer choice B. And there we have it. That's right, David. That's it right there. Brian, that's true. Yeah, that's true. And so with that, there we go. There we go. Hopefully we're feeling pretty good about that. So again, this is just one type of ratio proportion problem. And it's typically looking like this. Hey, just identify the ratio. Just identify it. Now, we're going to move now into the next type of proportion problem. This is a very, very common type of question, and this is a part-to-part problem. So I'm going to go ahead and just show you this right here coming up. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you this one. I'm going to guide you through this one, and then I'm going to go ahead and let you take a turn again and try things out. Then we're going to move forward into the part-to-total problems. I'll show you one, you try one, and then after that, we are hitting it hard. Time practice for the rest of class. So we're almost there. Let's have some fun here. Guided warm-up, part to part. So a nearby tree that is 20 feet tall. Everybody, what am I doing wrong? Right, I didn't read the question. I got to do my job here. I have got to read the question. So here, the question is where I start. How tall is a street sign that casts a 21-foot long shadow, or casts a shadow 21 feet long? Either way, same thing. But yeah, there's my question. So here it says, how tall is the street sign Okay, so I'm going to say T is how tall the street sign is. And then it says it has a shadow 21 feet long. If you have any suspicions about, hey, is this a proportion problem, coach? Well, notice how in that same question sentence, it goes, how tall is this 21-foot long object? Notice that that number that you don't know the answer is already being compared to something else. This is a hint that this is a proportion problem. So we want to know how tall the street sign is, and then it says, as a 21-foot long shadow. What do I do with that information? Hold your horses, take it nice and slow. Let's read the information and see if there's anything that we can kind of work with here. Let's check it out. So here, if we go to the top here, a nearby tree that is 20 feet tall casts a shadow 12 feet long. Everybody, remember that whole thing about proportions are comparing the same things in the same way? Do you see the same things being compared here? Is that clear to you? Do you see the same things being compared? Yeah, I see it. Notice how over here we're talking about how tall an object is, how tall this tree is, and how long the tree's shadow is. And then in the question it says, how tall is a street sign that has a shadow 21 feet? Height, how tall versus shadow. In two sentences happens twice. That is comparing the same things in the same way. Well, the same things being compared. We have to compare them the same way to do a proportion the right way. But we see that we have things being compared. The same things are being compared. We got to make sure they're compared in the same way. So with that, let me write that in blue here. We see that we have a tree, 20 feet tall, shadow, 12 feet long. Let me write that down. So for the tree, and I'm going to say this for the street sign, but for the tree, we have 20 feet tall, 12-foot shadow. Take a look there. So here's what we're going to do, everybody. However we set this up, however we set it up, as long as you can visually confirm that you are comparing the same things in the same way, you are good. Here's the main way that you can set this up. But there's, again, like 4 different ways you can do this, and it'll all be correct. One way you can do it is like this. T over 21, because notice this is how tall the street sign is. This is how long the shadow is. So tall or height over shadow. If I go to the right side here, everybody, what needs to go first? If I set it up like this, what needs to go up top first? Right, that same comparison. Excuse me. That T represents how tall the street sign is. On the left side, on the top, we need to put how tall the tree is. And that'll be 20 up here. And then the bottom, this is shadow. So then this would compare with the shadow. Compare the same things in the same way. So again, this is the height. So height on top, and then shadow on bottom. Shadow on bottom. Compare the same things in the same way. My party people, does that make sense? Yes or no? Awesome. And again, there's a few different ways that you can set this up. I'm going to give you a few more examples, but then we're going to solve this. You could have also set it up like this. You could have done T over 20 equals 21 over 12, because both of these represent how tall and both of these represent the shadow. And so this first one represents the street sign, tree, street sign, tree. Same comparison in the same way. That would work. We could also do it backwards. If you wanted to do 21 over T equals 12 over 20, that also works, because you're still comparing the same things in the same way. Regardless of how you set it up, as long as you set it up correctly, the answer is going to come out correct. So we can go ahead and just focus on this one here. No worries, because understanding you can set it up a million different ways, hey, that comes with practice. Let's just focus right here on this. So with that, by just looking at this, what's the standard way that we can solve this, everybody? What's the standard way that we can do this? Right? Cross, multiply, and divide, right? Cross, multiply, and divide would be the easiest way to do it. I mean, we could just go and straight up do it right there. Or we could try to simplify first. Take a look, everybody. Take a look. Is it possible to simplify 20 over 12? Is that simplifiable? Could we simplify that? Could we simplify that? We could, right? What are 20 and 12 both divisible by? What are 20 and 12? Oh, 4. Is that going to give us an easier time? Let's find out. Let's find out. Let's give ourselves the opportunity to get this done the right way. So if I do 20 divided by 4, 12 divided by 4, what does that give us now? That'll be t over 21 equals, okay, 20 divided by 4, that's going to be 5. 12 divided by 4, that's going to be 3. Okay, everybody. First of all, if we were going to still cross multiply and divide, would that be a lot easier? 5 times 21 versus 20 times 21? Yeah, that's a lot easier, right? I hope we can see that is a ton easier. So you've already given yourself an easier opportunity on the ASVAB by doing that. And now, exactly, Jonathan, instead of cross multiplying and dividing, what could we do here to solve this like that in one step instead of two? Compare the same things in the same way, right? If I wanted to go from 5 to the answer, I got to know how to go from 3 to 21. Everybody, how do I go from 3 to 21? Yeah, times 7. I can multiply 3 by 7 to get 21. So if I'm going from right to left on the bottom, I can go from right to left on top in the same exact way. Compare the same things in the same way. PBS, the more you know. So here, 5 times 7 is how we'll do things. 5 times 7, everybody, that's the hardest question of the day. What is that? 35. And there you go. T equals 35. 35 what, everybody? 35 feet. That's right. 35 feet. Booyah. And you're good. And you're good right there. And so let me zoom out a little bit. Let me get my ugly face out of the way so you can take a screenshot. But there you have it, my party people. Our answer here would be D. 35 feet is how tall the street sign is. Again, it's really about making sure that you're setting it up the right way. If you set it up wrong, you're going to get different numbers. You're going to get all these different things. And if you're taking a screenshot and you want to see some comedy, there you go. Appreciate you, Lewis. And there you have that. Chandra, let me see. What happened to the denominator? Oh, we're just comparing the same things there, so it'd be fine. Yeah, you're good. Hey, right on, Seth. I'm glad. I'm very happy. Very happy. All right, so with that, who is ready to potentially try something just like this on their own? Cool. Sounds good. Sounds good. Sounds good. Sounds good. So here we go. Let's try this next one out. I'm going to go and give you that, and I'm going to set up the timer here. Again, 2 minutes. I only want you to just try to set it up. I don't need you to try to hit a home run in one hit. You're good. You're good. You're good. I just want to know that you're giving it your best, which I know you are. And again, just take the whole 2 minutes here. Do your thing. Do your thing. And after we do this problem, before we get into the parts of total, I'm going to talk about the program for 2 straight minutes really quick, because I know a lot of you have already been asking me in the chat box, and I see the phone is blowing up about that. So I'm going to do that in a moment, and then we'll continue on. And again, please do not reveal your answer. Not yet. Just type ready in the chat box when you're ready. Hey, no worries. If you're lost, again, just make sure to take it through those 3 steps here. Let's start off with the question itself. So if you're saying that you're lost, but you can't tell me what the question's asking you to figure out, that just tells me that you blanked out on test anxiety. This is not the real test. This is practice. So again, let's be happy to make mistakes. Let's be happy. Can you identify what the question is having you figure out? What is the question telling you to look for? That's the main question there. That's your first question. So time is up with 1 second left, and let me go ahead and lower the quality of this video by bringing my face back in. All right, so let's go ahead and let's keep having fun. So with that, you got a C there. Okay, you got C's, you got lost. Okay. And don't say my bad. If you put B and then you saw everybody else put C and then you put C too, they could all be wrong. There have been plenty of moments in these classes where literally 90% of y'all were wrong, and half of them people were wrong because they followed other people's answers. And I love it when that happens because I may or may not laugh on the inside a little bit, and I feel bad. But yeah. So with that, here we go. Let's have some fun here, man. Let's go ahead and just take it easy here. Again, for those of you that were lost, for those of you that were confused, stuck, test anxiety, blanked out, did you start with reading the question sentence? Be honest with me, yes or no. Did you start with reading the question sentence? Okay, I see a ton of yeses, and I love seeing that. But if you were a no, be honest. Again, this is not I'm the staff sergeant at MEPS and I'm going to fail you. That's not what this is about. I need to expose the fact that we are making mistakes that are very correctable. Okay, this is very correctable. You got this. So the first thing we need to do is, again, read the question sentence. How many football cards does Mark have? So just plain and simple here, what we're looking for, we're just looking for the number of football cards that this person named Mark has. Who's Mark? I don't care. You can replace Mark with Stephanie. You can replace Stephanie with Javier. You can replace it with Coach Anderson. It doesn't matter. The name doesn't matter. What matters is what we're looking for, and we're looking for the football cards that Mark has. How many football cards? So I'm going to say Mark has F football cards. And again, I choose the variable. I choose the letter just to help it make sense. I'm not always going to go with X. Like, come on, like give some personality to it, put some interest in the problem. Yes, you can use X all the time, but here I'm going to say F. F for football cards. That's what I'm looking for, the number of football cards. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to move over now and allow the information to develop the problem. I'm going to allow it to develop for me. I'm not going to try to force anything. I'm not going to freak out and grab the first numbers I see, add them, and sing a Hail Mary to the bank. No. I want to just write the information down and see what the connection is between that information and the number of football cards that Mark has. That's it. I'm looking for the number of football cards. So any information related to it, let's check it out. So here, Mark has collectible basketball and football cards. Okay, so it's not just football cards. You got basketball cards in there. Okay. I'm still looking for football cards, though. The ratio of football cards to basketball cards is 3 to 8. Everybody, is that important there? That 3 to 8, is that important? Why is that important? Give me a reason, okay? Give me a phrase here. Why is that important? I mean, yeah, it could be a ratio. Yeah, it's a fraction. I don't care. What does it mean, though? Give me English here. Give me English, not math. Why is 3 to 8 important? Thank you, Dominic. It's the ratio or the comparison. It compares football to baseball cards, or basketball, excuse me. It compares football to basketball. And because it compares them and there's a connection, then you can use that connection or the relationship to try to figure out the answer. That tells you that, hey, look, we're not just looking for football. Basketball, that number has something to do with football. Let's use that to our advantage. Now we can get a little calmer knowing that we don't have to freak out about seeing numbers that we don't know their meaning. So here, let me highlight that for you right here. Ratio of football cards to basketball cards, 3 to 8. So what does that mean, everybody? What that means is, again, ratio of football over basketball. That's going to be 3/8. That's what that means. Before I continue, notice how I compared it. Football over basketball, 3/8. The order matters. Are we good with this before I continue moving forward? Right on. Perfect. So with that, let's go ahead and keep moving forward. So next up, I see that we have one more piece of information that we might want to write down. And that is right here. It says, hey, Mark has 64 basketball cards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write that here. We're looking for the F football cards, but with a comma, I'll just say has 64 basketball cards. And the reason I'm writing it there, if you're wondering, Coach, why is that 64 not over here somewhere? Well, notice that F, the number we're looking for, the number of football cards, that's the actual number of cards that he has in his hand. He actually has also 64 basketball cards. So in actuality, that F and that 64, those are connected, just like in terms of the comparison or the ratio, 3 and 8 are connected. Now you have your two comparisons. Now it's up to us to compare them in the same way. So let's go ahead and do that. Watch this. If I want to find out the number of football cards, what I'll do is I'll say, hey, look, if I'm looking for F, I'm going to compare that to 64 because that's football and that's basketball. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare it to 3/8. Because guess what? That 3 is football, the 8 is basketball. Everybody, do you agree with me? Yes or no? And again, you could have set this up a couple of different ways. You could have swapped the left side and the right side out. It could be 3/8 equals F over 64. You could have 64 over F, 8/3. That would work as well. A bunch of different ways would work. As long as you compare the same things in the same way, you're good. And so with that said, everybody, this is a pretty quick one too. Do I need to cross multiply in this one? Yeah, 64 times 3, that's 192. Then 192 divided by 8. Okay, that's going to be 24, it looks like, if I did the math in my head. But do you have to do the math in your head? Not easily. Not quite. Because guess what? If I want to go from 3 to the answer, I noticed that I can go from 8 to 64. Everybody, how do you go from 8 to 64? Times 8. That's right. Times 8. And so I can do the same thing up here. Multiply by 8, multiply by 8. Everybody, 3 times 8 is what? 24. What does that 24 represent again? What does 24 represent? Football cards, that's right. And there we have it. And there we have that. Right there. Nice and straightforward, man. Nice and straightforward, nice and easy. There you have that. So when it comes to part-to-part problems, I'm gonna show you what part to total looks like in a brief moment here. But when it comes to part-to-part problems, do you see, again, how it's connected to the main idea? Compare the same things in the same way. Yes or no? Is that starting to get through to your head? Larry, woo! Love that comment. I'm glad. I really, truly am glad. Really, truly am. So with that said, my party people, here's what I'm going to go ahead and do real quick. So we have, again, the part to total coming right up next, and we're going to get that done. But I do understand that, again, a lot of you guys are privately messaging me here on Zoom. I did see some comments on YouTube, and my phone is kind of blowing up here. So I'm going to take a quick second to just tell you about the program, give you a quick link in case you have to leave early. But I'm going to tell you, if you want to continue this tomorrow in our class is not over yet today, but tomorrow we're doing 2 straight hours of all test prep, all word problems, all being timed so you can practice. And you can only get that with my full program. So I want to make sure I'm very clear about what the program is, how it works. That way you can make a decision on whether or not you want to join. So long story short, everybody, if you like what's going on so far in this class and you want to get more of it, there's a ton more. And the great thing is that it's super affordable, and I'm going to give you a discount on top of that. So long story short, with the full program, you get all the classes, all the recordings to all the classes. That way you never have to worry about missing class. Then on top of that, you're going to get 5 extra courses for the paragraph comprehension, word knowledge, arithmetic reasoning, math knowledge, and general science. And on top of that, you're going to have my business line You can text me whenever you need help. So basically, I'm going to support you all the way until you pass. And really, every single person so far who's communicated with me, who's shown up, who's asked questions, they've ultimately, at the end of the day, gotten the score they want. So with that said, I'm welcoming you in to join the program if you'd like to. I'm just going to drop a link right here in the chat box, and we're going to get right back to teaching class right here. So let me go ahead and close the chat box down. Oh, it's super affordable. You can get 24 hours of classes every month and everything else I talked about for literally $47 a month. But with this discount, you can take $8 off the monthly subscription, or you can take $50 off the full year. If you're trying to raise your score as high as you can to get the best score you can, I recommend the year because you save a lot more money down the road. And the full year is less than a month of anybody else's. You can pay $200, $250 a month elsewhere, or you can pay less than $200 for a full year with me, or $39 a month per month with the monthly. So again, I put the link in the chat box here in Zoom. If you are on YouTube, if you check the description of this video, you'll see the link in there with the discount code as well. The discount code is Monday, all caps. Just click redeem before you sign up or before you submit the payment, and you'll see that discount go through. And last thing, the last question I see here is it a contract? Hell no. I do not do contracts. It's month to month, cancel whenever for monthly, or a one-time payment for the full year. And so that's enough of me talking about that. If you are already in the subscription and you would like to get the full year instead, I promised to discount up to 2 months of what you've already paid. So that way you don't pay any extra at all. So if you are looking to upgrade as well, just text me directly. I'll take care of you first thing tomorrow morning as well. So with that, we're going to get right back to it here. Let's go ahead and start talking about part to total. So with that said, my party people, let's go and get in here. So part to total. This is the type of problem that I'm telling you right now, people get confused on left and right. But just like I said, if you are paying attention to those little details, you're good. So let's go and do that here. Let's start slow. So right here, this is all one sentence, right? It's really one sentence, but this is very, very, very confusing if you don't know what you're looking for. So here, if the ratio of children to adults on a plane is 3 to 9, what is the ratio of children to all passengers? Okay, so let's go ahead and kind of take a look here. Let's see what's going on. First question, what are we looking for? What do we want, everyone? Say it in a phrase. What do we want? What are we trying to figure out? Give me a good phrase. Give me a specific phrase. You want to be specific and practice specificity here so that way your mind isn't jumbled on the test. Come on, be specific. Thank you. That's what I'm looking for. The ratio of children to all passengers. You have got to practice being specific with yourself in practice so that way you are specific on the test. There's no other way to put it. If you're lazy when you practice, you're going to be nervous on the test. If you're hard on yourself at practice, well, it's going to be easier on the test. If you've played sports, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So ratio of children to all passengers, that's what we want. So just write that down. We want the ratio, again, which is the same thing as saying fraction. And we're going to have children over all passengers. Pay attention. Pay attention. Children to all passengers. Now, let's go ahead and write down the information that we have. Let's write it down. So the information here says the ratio of children to adults on a plane is 3 to 9. So let me write that down here. So when we look at children compared to adults, and I'll just highlight that for you again, ratio children to adults, 3 to 9. So children to adults, right there, we see 3 to 9. Okay, cool. 3 to 9. Sounds great. Now, okay, everybody, we're looking at the fraction that we have here, children to all passengers. Yeah. Are we just supposed to put 3 to 9, then simplify it and call it a day? Okay, a lot of us are saying no. Give me a reason why. Why am I not supposed to do that? Why am I not supposed to just be like, 3 to 9, that's 1 over 3, I'm done. Why is that not the right way to do it? Exactly. It's a very simple answer. It's a very simple answer. They asked for children to all passengers, not children to adults. So with that, we can confidently say that this is not correct. But could I leave the 3 there? Is the 3 okay there? Yeah, the 3 is okay there, right? Because the 3 represents children. Now, if we have children to adults, so let's focus our attention right here. Let me just zoom in. I want to zoom out in a moment. So just pay attention here. Drop your pencils. If you have 3 children to 9 adults, everybody, if I wanted to write in all, how do you, what is all again? What does all mean? Right, it means add everything up. That's what all means. Total, add them all up. What is 3 plus 9, everybody? It's 12, exactly. All represents 12. Adults represents 9, children 3. And so with that, again, this is the same thing. That's 3 plus 9. All. Yes or no, does that make sense? How we got 12 to represent all. Is that fair to you? Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. And without further ado, let's go ahead and clean this problem up. Let's get it going. So we're going to go ahead, take that 12 and put it where it belongs. Let me get that black in there. So we're going to have 12 instead because we're looking for all. And so 3 to 12 or 3 over 12, same stuff. Are we done? I don't see 3 over 12. Got to simplify. Exactly. We have to simplify. So let's go ahead and get that done. So 3 over 12. Let's simplify. We can divide both 3 and 12 by 3. And so let's not waste time there. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 12 divided by 3 is 4. And that is why, surprise, surprise, the answer is actually A, 1 over 4. It's all good, Brian. Again, like this is going to happen. Like you're going to get cocky on some problems. You're going to get overconfident. You're going to get nervous enough to skip a step or make a mistake. But that's why we're here. We're here to make the mistakes now so we don't make them on the test. So be proud of that. Be proud that you realized your mistake as opposed to feeling like you're studying alone sometimes. And you're like, yo, I got it wrong, but why? But why? But why? Why am I wrong? What the heck? I'm pissed, right? So that's why I really love these classes because at the end of the day, it gives us the opportunity to grow in real time. Hey, no worries, Brian. Again, be proud of those mistakes when you practice, not on the test. So with that, let's go ahead here. It's not going to be D because, again, there's no ratio that we can create that represents children to everybody as 1 over 6. Not the same. So with that said, everybody, that is the first part here. Look at how, and pay attention, we were able to set up the ratio that had a total in it. Notice when it says total. What I mean by that is, let's go ahead and take a look here at this next guided warm-up because the next one you're doing on your own. So guided warm-up number 2, part to total. Let's check it out. No matter what, the first thing we're doing is we are reading the question sentence. Everybody start with the question sentence right here. It says, if there are 35 total dogs and cats, how many dogs are there? Look, everybody, what are we looking for? Dogs and cats, dogs. There's a lot of stuff in one sentence. Can you specify with all this information, specify specifically what are we looking for? Correct. We are looking for the number of dogs. That is correct. So right here, how many dogs are there? So again, whether you know how to do this problem or not, that should not ever stop you in any word problem from literally just looking and identifying what the question wants you to find. Do you see what I'm saying when I say that? Like your skill level does not matter when it comes to identifying the question. Everyone should be able to do that. Does that make sense? Like how you get there, different story, right? Different story entirely. But knowing what you're looking for, that should be no question for anybody. That is easy for everybody. That should be easy because all you have to do is read the sentence. So here, we're looking for the number of dogs. I'm going to say D for dogs. And so let's go ahead. Let's read the information. Let's see what we got. So the ratio of dogs to cats at an adoption center is 2 to 5. Okay, let's write that down. Ratio dogs to cats is 2 to 5. So I'm going to write that down. So the ratio, And I'm going to say dogs to cats. So I'm going to put dogs over cats. And they say it's 2/5. Everybody, yes or no? Is that correct before I continue? They say that, right? I wrote that correctly? Just got to make sure I test you real quick, right? All right, cool. So yeah, no, it's correct. It's correct because it says dogs to cats 2/5, dogs to cats 2/5. We should be good. Now let's move forward and write down this one last piece that we didn't write down yet. Right here it says there are 35 total dogs and cats. So I'm going to write that over here. So we have D dogs and then 35 total dogs and cats. Excuse me there. Whoops. Dogs and cats. Okay. So let's think about this. Everybody, could I write a ratio like this? Could I say 2/5 equals, so 2 is dogs. So I could put D for dogs and then 35 down there. Would that work? Would that work? Is this a proper proportion? Okay, so I see a lot of yeses and a lot of nos. And again, this is a new type of problem. And again, it can be very confusing very easily if we're not paying attention. So let's just take a little accountability moment here. Let's just account for things. Again, if you're unsure, let me give you the power to self-check. That's what this is about. Let's self-check. So here it says, hey, that 2 up there, that represents dogs. We saw that. We saw that. Okay, so we're good. That D over here, that represents dogs. I'm good there. I'm cool. But just like Jessica pointed out, yeah, 35 is a total. Notice right here, it says 35, that's a total. Let me zoom in. And then 5, that's cats. That's cats. Is that the same? Is this the same things being compared in the same way? No. And this is how you can prove to yourself. Like, notice, I didn't give you the answer. This is not the answer. This is the process. And this is a way that we can self-check in the middle of the problem. This is how you can, do a problem and avoid the whole feeling of, oh man, I'm 3 steps in, but I have no idea what I'm doing. It's happened to everybody, happened to all of us. We can avoid that by understanding the main thing. Compare the same things in the same way. Am I doing that? No. We got to redraw this thing. We got to redraw this. So with that said, remember my piece of advice here. If there's a total included, include the total in the proportion. That is the easiest way I can say it for the ASVAB. Yes, there are other problems that you could potentially do it differently, but not on the ASVAB. Every single example, every single one that I've ever encountered on the actual test or a practice test, every single time, the total is always included. Don't have to worry about that. So what that means is this is good. Keep that the same. You need to adjust this. That's what needs to go. I need to take that out. And everybody, what should actually go in? It's the total. The total should actually go in there. If I have 2 dogs for every 5 cats, what's the total in that comparison? 7. Exactly. 7 is the total. So again, if you have 2 dogs, so let me write this here. If I have 2 dogs for every 5 cats, that means my total, let me write that in blue actually, my total is 7. Does that make sense, everybody? How I got the 7? The 7 is how I'm going to get that. Because now I'm comparing dogs to total, dogs to total. Now I have an appropriate proportion. Now I have a proportion that I'm proud to use because I know it'll work. So one more time, yes or no? There you go. I see a lot of us saying, oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense. Okay, cool. Let me know if that's making sense to you. Yeah, we added 2 and the 5 because total is what we're going for. So Blessing, great question. So let me reiterate a point here. Blessing's question was, how do I know when to change the denominator? Do you know when to change the denominator? When your setup is not correct. We saw that we were not comparing the same things in the same way, so we knew we had to change it. Remember that on one side, we had dogs to cats, but here we had dogs to total. Total or cats, one of them has to change. And my advice was, if you have a total, keep it. Change the other thing. Change the other thing. Sounds good, Krishan. Sounds good, Blessing. Sounds good, Angelica. That's right, Savannah. Compare the same things in the same way. So now that we're here, everybody, should we now go ahead and kind of cross multiply and divide, or is it going to be a little easier than that? What's your vote, everybody? Horizontal, go the easier way. Yeah, we can definitely find a little bit of an easier way here, everybody. If you check it out, notice that if I'm trying to go to the answer here, I can try to go from bottom to top, or I can try to go from left to right. Which way is the way that would work? Is it bottom to top or left to right? Which way is it, everybody? Yeah, it's left to right. Notice how I looked at both ways to see where the comparison might be. You could have been like, okay, bottom to top. Can I go from 7 to 2? Nah, that's kind of rough. That's kind of rough. I can't do that. But if I looked at trying to go 2 to D, yeah, I can go from 7 to 35 actually pretty easily. I can do that. And that's actually times 5. And here times 5. And so everybody, 2 times 5 is going to be what? 10 dogs. And there's your answer right there. And if you're doing the cross multiplication method, I got you. I'll show you right here. If you're doing the cross multiplication, super easy. 7 times D is 7D. 2 times 35 is 70. Then from here, you divide both sides by 7, and you get D equals 10. Either way, same answer. Either way, same exact answer. Hey, no worries, Dominic. I got you. No worries, man. And so, again, everybody, compare the same things in the same way. That's the staple of today, man. That is the staple of today. And so, is anybody here looking forward to actually trying this on your own? Hey, no worries, Carrie Ann. You got every single recording? You got it. You're good. Cool. And let me zoom out to let you take another screenshot here. Let me give you that farmers only or Christian mingle face. Give you about 5 more seconds. Please don't print this and put it on your wall. All right, cool. So with that, oh, Lewis, where's your question? Go ahead, Lewis. Take your question. Let me see if I missed it. I don't believe I missed it. Yeah, I don't see a question for me, Lewis. Oh, yeah, Lewis. That's what I showed. Right here. Times 5. Yeah, you can absolutely do that. For sure. Yep. And so the answer is A, 10. Yeah. Let me highlight that for you. Perfect. Yeah. No worries, Lewis. I got you. So that is not an ASVAB related question, Ogie, so I will not answer that. So with that, let's go ahead and get you guys to try this next one out. So try this one out here. Very similar question. I'm going to go and give you 2 minutes here, and let's start that timer. Oh. And again, just type ready when you're ready in the chat box. And I'm also going to drop the link to the program and the discount code one more time. And then at the end of class, we'll do it one more time again. You guys have been asking, and I know that a lot of y'all, yeah, since class started, literally 8 of you guys have signed up. So yeah, I'm going to make sure that you guys have access to it and can easily look at it later on. There's a whole page explaining how it all works. But let's focus on this right now. You guys got this. And that is time, my party people. That is time right there. All right, so let's see what answers you guys got. Let's go. What do we have? What do we have? If you were lost, if you were confused, again, it's okay. Absolutely okay. Just admit it. Just admit it. Just be honest about it. It's all good. All right, so with that said, let's check it out here. So let's get to work. First things first, my party people, we have to have that skill there, that first option, that first thing. Identify the question. Even if you're confused or lost or stuck, that does not stop you from at least reading a couple of words, right? Let's read a couple of words. The who, what, when, where, how many, which of the following. Anything that follows those action words, those question words, that's how you know what you're looking for. So in this case, if we look right here, how many cats? Right? I think even if we don't know what the problem is about, if we said or heard how many cats, unless you've been living under a rock for the past X years, I mean, I think we all know that, hey, we're looking for something named cats. Cool. Sounds good. So we're looking for the number of cats. I'm going to say C for cats. We're looking for C cats, the number of cats. Like Patrick, exactly. Lead. So here we go. With that, let's go ahead and now take a look at the information and let's see what's going on. Yes, I do have a lot of personality. So with that, there are 3 dogs for every 5 cats in a shelter. Okay, so we see that, okay, look, remember, we're looking for cats, right? We're looking for cats, and we see that there's a comparison between dogs and cats. Word problems typically don't do this just to do it. A lot of the times they do it because they're setting you up. So with that, write that down. Be careful about the way you write it down. There are 3 dogs for every 5 cats. Now, everybody, is that a ratio? Is that a ratio? The answer is yes. So notice how they don't actually say ratio or fraction or comparison. They said for every. And that is still another way to speak ratio. Right here, there are 3 dogs for every 5 cats. So write that down. That is an indicator of a ratio. When you're saying, hey, there are this many of this for that many of that. When you have this many of this for every that, that is a comparison, a solid comparison. That's a ratio. I know some of us may not have seen it, and that's why I wanted to review that with you very briefly. And so there we have a ratio. And then we have, I'm going to say cats to dogs, 3 to 5. All good so far? Are we all good so far? No. What do you mean? That's right. We got to compare the same things in the same way. I didn't do that. I wrote dogs and cats. I wrote 3 and 5, but not in the right order. So here, notice how I wrote cats over dogs. It should be dogs to cats. The 3 belongs with dogs, which it does not here. I tried to trick you. Exactly. I got to make sure you're paying attention because at this point in the class, a lot of y'all get comfortable. Can't let that happen. So with that, we're going to make sure that we write it the right way. The dog should be up top. The cat should be on bottom. Now it's written in the right way. Now, beyond that, what else do we have? It says, hey, if there are 64 total dogs and cats at the shelter, okay, I'm going to write that over here. 64 total dogs and cats. Sounds great. And I have everything written down now. Everything's written down now. It looks like I'm able to go ahead and start taking command of this learning here, this process. So let's go ahead and get that done. Now, I'm looking at this and I'm going to base my first ratio. Honestly, I'm going to base it off of this right here. Let me just base it off of that right there. I got C over 64. And remember that the C represents cats. And the 64 represents what again, everybody? The 64 represents what? What does it represent? Krishan, my man. First in line there. Yep. Total. Represents total. Represents total. Right there. Booyah. And so, boom, we got C over 64. So cats over total. So in your head, everybody, what is the same order you need to repeat on the right side? What is the order? What are the things you need to compare on the right side? Not the numbers. I don't care about numbers. Give me the names. What am I comparing on the right side? What over what? It's 2 things. 2 things. What over what? Quick. Let's go. This is practice time. Yes, cats to total. My people, this is why I love y'all. You're willing to work hard. You're willing to make the sacrifice. Almost cursed there. So here we got up top. What number belongs up top? What is the number we should put up top? 5 for cats. Yes, 5 for cats right here. Cats is 5. Now, does that mean I should put the 3 on the bottom? No, no 3 on the bottom. It should be 8. Because if you take a look, again, if you take a look right here, you got dogs at 3. You got cats at 5. What is the total? Because again, you need a total compared to a total. You need cats compared to cats. So if I'm trying to find total here, well, guess what? If you have 3 dogs for every 5 cats, that's comparing 8 total animals at a time. So in that ratio, that is where the 8 belongs. Yes or no? Does that make sense? Perfect. And so now that we're here, everybody, here's what we got. I'm going to compare and see if I can find a little shortcut. And it just so happens that we do have a little shortcut here. It just so happens that we have, if we're trying to go from 5 to whatever the answer is, we can go the same way, right to left, and we can do 8 times 8 is 64. So 5 times 8 is going to give us our answer. And so that means that 5 times 8 is 40, and that makes our answer 40 cats. Booyah. And there we are, C, 40. And there we have that. So I'm going to move over to give you guys a chance to take a screenshot there as well. And this is actually perfect timing because we were able to explore and go through all 3 levels of proportion problems. There are different, there's other different problems like triple ratios and things like that, but it does not work. You're learning on that. Can't happen if you don't have these 3 fundamental things done. How to set up ratios, how to do part-to-part proportions, how to do part-to-total proportions. Once you have that, then guess what? In tomorrow's class, when you come in, guess what? I'm creating a set of brand new problems. On top of what you're going to see here, I'm adding in about an extra 6 brand new problems with triple ratios, with these more complicated total problems that you can expect to see if you're trying to score higher and higher on the ASVAB. And we're going to escalate from the broad, easy ones, fundamental ones, and getting into those nooks and crannies. And we're going to have a great time tomorrow. I'm really excited. So with that, I'm going to make sure that this recording is up on the website by 10 a.m. tomorrow if you're in the program. And I'm going to try to email it to y'all the moment that I have it up on the website. I'm going to try to email it to everybody with the link, again, if you're in the program. That way you can watch the recording before tomorrow night's class. Because if you can rewatch it and continue practicing, then we're going to have such a phenomenal time tomorrow that it's not even going to be funny. It's just going to be awesome. And so with that said, how was this for you? I mean, like, how'd you guys like today's class? How are we feeling? And Stephanie, I'm glad. That's your first class too. Feeling good, feeling confident. Again, this is going to happen every day. This is how every day is. You guys have helped me build the biggest community I've ever built, the best community I've ever built. This is just the way that you guys are willing to be patient with each other, because I know a lot of y'all are at different levels, and you're willing to just stay in here, stay prepared, help each other out so you can learn yourself more too. This is just what it's all about, man. And even if you're still struggling, even if you're still having problems, that's okay. The struggle is part of the process. If we continue to work hard and ask questions as to why we are where we are and how we can move forward, yes, we'll eventually succeed. But if you're going to avoid the responsibility of growth, it only becomes more confusing. So please, I'm your coach. I got your back. If you need help, hit me up because I got your back, all right? And before we go, we have 3 minutes here. So just want to remind you about the updates for this week. The General Technical Study Guide, the GT Study Guide, comes out on Thursday. The new times tables, speed drill activities, that will be out by latest Friday. Again, I'm just working on one minor error fix. Once I get that one little coding fix, we're good to go. I'll email it and put it into everybody's account for free if you are already in the program. And then on top of that, tomorrow's class is, again, part 2 of today. So if you enjoyed today's class and you're not in the program, I highly recommend getting the program because, again, you get so much more than just the classes. You get all of my classes, all the recordings. at a price that's already ridiculous, even if it was just for the classes. But on top of that, I give you over 10,000 practice test questions with speed drills, worksheets, guided practice videos for the 5 main core subjects. And you can text me whenever you need help. So if you experience test anxiety, if you feel like you're kind of alone studying, going through this, if you've blanked out on word problems frequently in the past and you don't want to, then it's time to take control of your studying and time to take control of that score, because the score you get translates to the job in the military that you get. So let's go ahead, make the right move for a price that nobody else can beat, and I'll see you tomorrow. So I'm going to go ahead and put the link to the program one more time in the chat box, and I'm going to stay just for an extra 5 minutes because due to health concerns, I do have to log off early here. But and for those in the program, I'll explain a little more tomorrow what that means. But I'm going to put the link to the program and the code one more time, and there it is again. It'll reduce the price of the monthly from $47 to $39 tonight only, or the annual, it'll reduce it from $247 down to $197. And for those of you who have seen everything that the program comes with, again, if you click that link, you'll see it in there. You know that this is a crazy price for what you get. And you know it's only getting better because I'm consistently updating everything and giving you more free content on top of that. So with that said, my party people, you guys know how awesome you are. I'll see you guys tomorrow. If you are already in the subscription and you want to upgrade to the full year, I'm more than happy to work with you and give you a massive discount on top of what you've already paid to make that happen. If you want to learn more about that, if you're already in the program and want to upgrade, reach out to me directly. Again, my phone number is 567-698 8867. And again, if you're in the program, you should be reaching out to me anyway, because I always want to check in with you. I always want to make sure that you're good to go moving forward. And so with that said, my math party people, if you have any questions outside of this, feel free to, again, shoot me a text. But there's the link for those my party people on YouTube. Go ahead and check the description of this video. The link to the program along with the discount code is all right there. All you have to do is make sure you click redeem before you pay, and you'll see that discount right there. And again, no contracts. It's month to month. Cancel whenever. It's a subscription, so it automatically renews, but it's up to you to just cancel before it renews, and you're good. So again, my party people, you guys have been absolutely awesome. For those of you that are in the program, again, I'm going to text you the link, or excuse me, I'm going to email the link to the recording the moment that I can get it on the website. Coach Sheena has been feeling a little under the weather, so I'm going to give her just a little more time tomorrow morning to settle in and get that done for us. But with that, you guys all stay awesome. Have a great evening. Here's the link one more time to the program and the discount code. Krista, I saw that. I'll text you tomorrow morning. And with that said, you guys stay easy. Stay awesome. I'll see you tomorrow. And let's ace the ASVAB. You guys all have a great night, guys. Cheers.
Record.
And for my party people on YouTube, I will see y'all too. Feel free to watch this recording. Oh, yeah, it's on YouTube. Watch it whenever you want to. Cheers.